Welcome, everyone. I'm just going to give it a little, just a few more minutes. Thank you so much. Please introduce yourself if you'd like. Say hello in the chat. Tell us where you're coming from. We are so excited that you've decided to spend this beautiful hour or hour and a half with us today to learn some pretty cool things. If you don't know me, my name is Cristina Stancio. I'm the director of the Humanities Research Center here at VCU, where I'm also a professor of English. If you're new to the HRC, this is a university-wide center, the only hub for the humanities on campus, and we offer lecture series, webinars like these, research support and community for scholars and students, not just in the humanities and humanistic social sciences, but for everyone at the university, as well as for scholars in adjacent fields across the campus who integrate humanities methods into their projects. And I am so excited to welcome you today to our second day in our second Humanities Week this year. We started it last year when our center celebrated our 10th anniversary, and we are happy to be back and we are happy to see you join us. I'm very excited to especially to offer this workshop with Cristi Cooke this afternoon. I would like to remind folks that we have one or two events every day until Friday, when we invite you also to join two walking tours we have organized in collaboration with the Valentine Museum. This is truly a week-long celebration of the humanities, and I hope you'll find a little time to join one of the in-person events as well. And the final thing I'll say before I introduce today's moderator or speaker, facilitator, is that this year we are focusing Humanities Week the entire week on applied humanities, which is not a new field, but probably newer for us, for our campus, in thinking how we can integrate this into our curriculum. Really thinking about how critical thinking, cultural analysis, ethical reasoning, and communication skills developed through humanities coursework prepare students like some of you here on the call today for meaningful careers while also addressing pressing societal challenges. So thank you again for being here today. I'm excited to introduce you to our presenter and workshop leader, Cristi Cooke, who is the creator of the Pillars of Genius method. Today, she'll be working with us, to explore how your interest in the humanities, your purpose, and your unique genius as a professor, as a citizen, as a student, can shape a career that fits who you truly are. Whether you are considering graduate school, entering the job market, or simply seeking to better understand your academic and career identity, we hope you leave with new clarity about your unique value and the language to express it. And thank you so much to our team, to Ellie, who's here behind the scenes, to Hillary, many of you who have helped make this week already a success, and I hope you'll join us for other humanities events. Cristi, as I mentioned earlier, is the creator of the Pillars of Genius method. And she helps clients stop being, quote unquote, everything to everyone. I know I benefited from this when I was an assistant professor and took a webinar with her many years ago through the NCFDD and the Faculty Success Program. So I fully understand that. So she helps clients stop being everything to everyone by discovering, valuing, and using their unique genius to create the career impact they are designed to make. Since 2017, she has worked exclusively with tenured and tenure-track faculty, transforming academic careers that feel overwhelming, disconnected, or draining into ones that are self-expressed, energizing, and impactful. And don't we all want this? Cristi leads workshops across the US and invites participants to move beyond default thinking and conventional ideas such as success, supporting them in turning self-knowledge into meaningful, sustainable career paths that align with who they are at their core. Cristi, thank you so much for being here. And for everyone in the audience, there will be some writing and some reflection. So I wanted to make sure you all have a pen and paper or your keyboards ready to roll. Cristi, thank you so much and welcome to the HRC.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Professor Stanchu. That was amazing. I'm so excited to be here. And let's start off by sharing the slides because we are going to go through some work today. So 1 second here and let's get started. All right, so can you see that first slide? Okay, perfect, great. All right, well, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. This is a real honor. I am here to help you discover your unique genius, which is the foundation of a meaningful and successful career. So, so thank you to Professor Stanchu. Thank you to Ellie for being an amazing support to get us here all together. So now here we are. Hold on to your hats. We have a lot to cover. I hope you have some paper and a pen or a document open because I'll be walking you through some exercises and we have some time left at the end for Q&A or if you want my help with working through one of the exercises. So just if you can hold your questions to the end, that would be great. And I'll support each of you as much as possible so you really get something out of this webinar. My intention is for this not to be just a download of information or a lecture. I actually want to give you as much transformation as I possibly can in this short amount of time together. So that's the goal. All right, are you with me? Are you with me? You can say yes, I'm with you in the chat box because I can see that. All right. Perfect. Awesome. Okay, hang on now. I got to. Okay, so who this is for. So great. Perfect. Yes, I see you. Matthew, Hannah, thank you. So who this is for. So this webinar is for students and those who support them who want to be clear about who you are and the impact you want to make so you can choose and design a fulfilling career that actually makes you happy, right? Isn't that a great topic? Now, I'm also aware, in addition to students on this call, we have a pretty broad audience registered for this webinar. There's faculty, staff, there's admin on the call, and I know you're here primarily to support students. And I want you to watch this webinar from that perspective, but also from your own personal perspective, because no matter if you're a student or a full professor, we are all looking, everyone is looking for how to design a career that aligns with our unique genius. So we can, as we said, stop being everything to everyone and design a career that fuels us rather than drains us, right? So if that resonates with you, you are in the right place, and I'm very excited to support you in that. So in this webinar, what are we going to do? First, you're going to create your own powerful filter. You're going to learn how to do that. Create your own powerful filter for designing a career path that allows you to bring all of who you are into your next phase of life. Now, some of you might be at a crossroads. No matter where you are in life, if you're 20 years old or 45 years old, you know, many of us are always at this crossroad, having to decide what are we going to do next in the next phase of our career. And a big part of that we're going to do in this webinar is how to connect with your current career purpose and how to find and articulate your unique genius that you, I'm pretty sure most of you, 99% of you, have been walking right past. So my promise to you is I'm going to guide you in building a framework to help you create a meaningful and successful career that's as unique as you are. So you have clarity and confidence making decisions about the next phase of your life. Okay, so let's get into this. And I want to make sure, let me just check in with you. Does this sound like you? Do you have many ideas, dreams, and goals, and you're not completely sure which path will make you happy? Or when people ask, you know, what are you going to do with the rest of your life? This is more for students often get this question. What are you going to do with the rest of your life? Or what are you going to do with this degree? You're not sure how to answer. Or even if you should you even be able to answer that question at this point? You know, and so it kind of has you thrown off course because you get these questions, you're not sure what the answer is, or even should you know the answer. Or maybe you're not fully clear on what makes you stand out. So that makes you not confident in articulating it. You know, if you're not clear on what makes you stand out, how do you articulate it to others, right? Or maybe you have the next 10 years mapped out, but you're wondering, am I boxing myself in? Will I be happy? Will I be fulfilled? I don't know. Um, or maybe you knew you wanted a degree, or you knew you needed a degree, but now you're not sure what you're going to do with it. And you're thinking, I have no idea what the future holds. Or you may feel torn between having a meaningful career that makes you happy versus just getting a job, right? So that's this feeling of, I have to have either or. I need, should I go the safe, secure route, or should I be happy? You're stuck in this position of thinking you have to choose. So if any of those challenges sound like you, and I am getting a few people saying absolutely yes. If any of those challenges and problems sound like you, I have really good news for you. Okay. None of those things are actually the real problem. You don't have to solve those problems. Those are actually symptoms of the real problem. What's at the source of it? So that's really good news. So the real problem, the way I see it, is that you haven't made what I call the shifts. Okay. And we're going to talk about the shifts in a second, because it's going to be your direct access to getting the outcome from this webinar. So we're going to talk about the shifts in a minute. We're going to go through them. But just for now, I want you to know that once you make these shifts, you will be crystal clear on where you're headed, where you're going, why you're doing what you're doing. You'll be able to choose work, projects, opportunities that perfectly align with who you are at your core, and you'll be able to articulate why you're saying yes to those things or why you're saying no to those things. So instead of everyone telling you, you should do this, you should do that, I think this, you can say, I know where I'm going. I know what I'm headed. So that's what these shifts will give you. You'll be able to articulate those things to yourself and others. Okay. All right. So you'll get a handle no matter which degree you have on where you want to make an impact. You'll be able to enroll others in your career purpose in a way that enrolls them. And you're going to discover that your unique value goes well beyond your GPA or your work experience or how many papers you've published or any of those things. You'll be able to powerfully and confidently articulate your unique value so others really get it, okay? And you'll have the grounding to chart your own course. No matter where you are in life, right? We all want to be able to chart our own course versus doing what everyone else thinks we should be doing. So before we go into that too much further, I'm just going to take 2 seconds and introduce myself, give you a little bit more context, and then we're going to dive into this content. Okay, so have your paper and pencil ready, because I want you to know who I am and why I'm here. So as Dr. Stanchu said, I'm the creator of the Pillars of Genius method. And, the reality is everyone wants to know, what's my genius? What's my purpose, right? This applies to so many people around the world. It's the only thing I do. And the reality is the method works for anyone, whether it's a CEO or a business owner or a faculty member or a social worker or a lawyer. The structure, the technology that I've developed, it works for everyone. And I did work with a lot of different profiles until about 2018, when I, as Dr. Sanchez said, I did a webinar for NCFDD and got exposed to the need that faculty members have, tenured and tenure track in particular faculty members have, to be clear on who they are at their core, why they're doing what they're doing, and to get deeply connected to their work so they can be really self-fulfilled and make a huge impact. And at that moment, it was over a few months, I made the decision to focus only and serve only tenured and tenure track faculty members. Because why? Because I believe they are the most important people in the world. Higher education is the most important, in my opinion, it's the most important place in the world for me to make this contribution. Because if we don't have higher education, we're in big trouble, right? We need higher education to work for society. So that is why I'm in this place. And Professor Sanchu asked me to translate this work that I normally do for faculty for students and for a broader audience. And so that's what I worked on. That's what I did. And that's what I'm here to do. So I'm very happy to bring this technology that is a proven technology and has been transforming lives into this audience as well. And I know you are going to love it. You're going to get a ton out of it. Okay. So let's move on. All right. So let's talk about these shifts. There are 6 shifts you need to make in order to bring all of who you are to your work and make all of your decisions so they're aligned with who you are. I'm going to walk you through all 6 in this session. All right. Ready? Here we go. Okay. Shift number 1. I invite you to consider that it's not a career search. It's an alignment search, right? So the question on most people's mind is, what path should I take? What job what career will make me happy? So I'm going to invite you to consider that different question is, where can I find alignment? Well, you need to make that shift because you're going from everything external pressuring you to be coming from an internal perspective. So let's look at this a little bit. Have you ever noticed that when you think about this, what job should I take? What career suits me? What will make me happy? You get many, many helpful, so-called helpful directions like, you'd be good at this, or you should do this, or you get suggestions like, oh, this job would be a good stepping stone, or the other great one, just try everything and somehow you'll figure it out just by exposing yourself to everything. Or you might hear demands like, you need a higher GPA, or you need a job that pays well, or just get a stable career. Or you might hear, these motivational quotes are the kinds of things that are, hanging on people's walls, or you can buy art about it, like, do what you love and the money will follow, or, find your passion, even though no one tells you how to do that. So when you're coming from this context of what career would suit me, what job should I take, you're looking outward, you're looking external for answers, and you're getting a lot of external answers and external directions. So you're faced with this incoming massive overwhelm of requests, opportunities, ideas, suggestions. And if you don't have a way to filter those things, if you're not totally clear on a few things, and we're going to get into those right now, if you're not totally clear on what your career purpose is, who you are at your core, it can pull you in a million different directions. You can feel very overwhelmed. So that kind of help, while it's very well-meaning, can feel very overwhelming. It feels just like more pressure, more noise, more things to consider. And, if this kind of suggestions helped, then you probably wouldn't be on this webinar, because I'm sure everyone here has had all those suggestions. All right, so consider that instead of being the receiver of well-intentioned advice, consider you are equipped with a crystal clear decision funnel that every single opportunity needs to travel through. So yeah, someone could tell you, you should do this, or you should take this job, or why don't you do this because you're so good at it. But you have your own unique filter to run every possible job, task, career through to see, is this on my path? So consider that the 3 most important questions are, number 1, does it forward my career purpose? All right. So does this career, this job, this opportunity forward the impact that I want to make at this stage in my life, or this stage in my career? And if you're thinking, I don't even know what my career purpose is, don't worry, we're going to get to that. Okay. Number 2, does it align with my unique genius, the patterns of who I am at my core? In other words, will I be able to contribute who I am, how I uniquely manifest as a benefit? Will I belong here? Will I feel like what I uniquely bring to the table is what's being pulled for? In other words, can I be my full self in that work, that career, that job, that phase? And number three, does it fit my logistics? I mean, that's just kind of an obvious one. Like, what do I need? What salary do I need? What hours do I want to work? What's my work-life balance like? What location, what city do I want to be in? Now, that third one we're not going to get into because I'm relying on you to know, what do you want for your salary or what location you want to be in. That's kind of the easier stuff. The top two are what we're going to work on because it's really, really important because if you don't get this, if you don't have your own filter that is based on these top two things, that lack of alignment with your work, it very quickly for some, and for others, it's like death by 1,000 cuts, if you've ever heard that term. Lack of alignment really does, at the end of the day, it's going to lead to burnout. It's going to lead to unhappiness. It's going to lead to lack of fulfillment. And there's almost no way to make a real impact with your work if you're burned out, unfulfilled, and if you feel like you don't belong, if you feel like you have to be someone different at work and someone different at home, right? So that is really going to stunt the impact that you are uniquely made to create. So let's go to an example. So Elizabeth Baker, she is at your institution. So Elizabeth is a great example of how this work works. And I want to show you like real life examples so you can kind of get your mind wrapped around this. When she came to this work, she had, the challenges we're talking about. Like she wasn't clear enough on her own unique genius to articulate it so it lands for others. She needed a strong filter for what to say yes or no to. She said at this point in her career, she wants to focus her time and talent for the most impact. Now, I'm just going to pause here for a second and say these examples, because I work with faculty members, my examples in here are all faculty members, which is probably no surprise. But I want you to listen from what's important to you. Listen from what you relate to, because you don't have to be a faculty member to relate to, I'm not clear on my own unique genius to articulate it. You could be a student in your first year and think, I need to be able to articulate how I'm unique and how I stand apart, right? So anyone can relate to these kinds of challenges. So when she did this work and got the content in the filter, right? When she got clear on her career purpose, got clear on who she is at her core, which I call your unique genius. She got the clarity that enabled her to pivot her research to align with her purpose. She said the time she's working now, so she said, I work the same amount of hours, but it's more impactful. Now it fuels me rather than drains me. And she can articulate and enroll others in her unique value, in her purpose, and she's making the impact that she's designed to make. Now, I just emailed her the other day because I said, I'm doing this webinar for VCU. Do you want to be one of the stories that I share? She said, yes. So she did this work, just to let you know, she did this work back in 2018. And at the bottom of her email, when she said, yes, go ahead, she said, it's still, and I wrote her exact words here, it still amazes me how relevant and consistent this clarity is even today. So in other words, once you get clear, once you're crystal clear, it doesn't move. As I said, she did this work in 2018. So there you go. So it's really important to have that. Okay, does that make sense? Can I hear a yes following in the chat area? Oh, the chat might be turned off actually. Okay, yeah, good. Great. Okay. Awesome. All right. So let's go to, so again, shift one, okay? Consider, you're not doing a career search. You're doing an alignment search, okay? You're shifting from external overwhelm to an internal filter. Okay, that's shift number one. Let's go to shift number two. Your work is not your purpose. Your work forwards your purpose, or should forward your purpose. Now, this may be confronting for some people because they might think, well, my purpose is to be a teacher, or my purpose is to be a social worker, or my purpose is to be an artist, or, it could be anything. But without knowing why you're a teacher, why you're a social worker, why you're an artist, it's very easy to get into an existential crisis very regularly, right? This is what people are talking about when they're referring to find your purpose or find your why. But nobody tells you how to find it. But if you do find it, sometimes people say, well, my purpose is to, bring joy to the world, or something so broad that you can't really use it as a filter for a job. It seems almost broad, almost to be useless, right? Like to be kind or to help others. There's nothing wrong with that as a purpose, but it's too broad to use as a filter to say, well, which exact career is going to be a perfect fit for me? So I'm not saying you can't have one purpose for your life that's very broad. I'm just saying when it comes to choosing a career, choosing your path, choosing, you come to a fork in the road, say you're 45 and you're thinking, should I go up for full or whatever that thing is? If you don't know, if you're not clear on what your career purpose is, it's going to be very difficult to make those choices powerfully. All right. So does it forward my career purpose? So does this career, this job, this project, this request, does it forward the impact I want to make at this stage in my life or my career? If you're thinking, I don't know what my career purpose is, don't worry, we're going to get into that right now. So does everyone have paper, pencil, document open on their computer, something that you can write? Okay, I hope you do. All right. So what is a career purpose? First of all, one thing I want to say is your career purpose will change. It can change and it will change over time. So this is one thing that, 2 years from now, it could change. 6 months from now, it could change. 10 years from now, it could change. So that's why I call it your current career purpose, because I don't believe, no one's been able to convince me yet that everyone has only one career purpose. I haven't seen it happen. So what does it mean? Your current career purpose is your possibility. So possibility is defined as a thing that may happen or be the case, right? The state or the fact of being likely or possible. In other words, you believe in the possibility, even if it's huge, reaching for the stars, even if it's never going to happen in your lifetime, it's like a possibility that you're creating. Your career purpose is also your form of self-expression. So self-expression in the dictionary is defined as the expression of one's feelings, thoughts, or ideas. So you're being self-expressed. Big dreams, belief, preferences. The third thing about a career purpose is it is your stand. All right. So your stand, it's your attitude towards a particular issue. It's a position you take in an argument. It might not be easy, right? But your career purpose matters to you. You care about it. You are a stand for that thing. Okay. So those three things. Now, how do you get there? How do you figure this out? Well, the way we do it in this technology, in this Pillars of Genius method, and the way that it's proven to work is we do first a data dump. Okay. So a data dump. So I want you to take a look at these questions, and we're going to spend just very short amount of time on each one. Now, in the realm, so you have your paper and pen or document open. In the realm of your work or your area of study, number one, what drives you nuts? Okay, I want you to write this down. I mean, what do you want to like punch your fist through the wall about? Like, even if it's controversial, even if you're not supposed to get mad about it, even if you're trying to be nice about it, what is it that you're like, man, this really drives me nuts in this area of your work, your study, your area of expertise? I'll give you just 10 seconds to write that down because it's got to be, right, just intuitive. Okay, got that? Number two, what is the utopia you seek or you crave in your area of work or in your area of study or in your potential career, right? So if you were to wake up in the world, in the realm of your work, and it was just as you dreamed it would be, what would it be like? And I don't mean for you as a person, I mean in the area of your work. I see you've lost sound. Is that me? Who do you really want to impact? Okay. Who do you really want to impact? Okay. So who needs you? Like whose lives do you feel compelled to change? Who really matters to you? Who do you want to make the most impact on? Write that down. Okay, I think the sound issue is just affecting one person. I'm going to let Ellie deal with that. Okay, good. Okay, so who do you really want to impact? And number 4, this is going to sound kind of crazy, but it's just another question to get you to data dump. What is wrong with the world? Like, whose ways of thinking are you fighting against? What philosophies are messing up everything in your area of work or your area of study or the career you're thinking about going in, right? In that kind of context. I gave you a second to write that down. We don't have enough time for that one. Okay. Just one off the top of your head, okay? I know there's going to be more. Hey, we only have an hour to do this, so I know. Believe me. Think about it in your area. Okay. Now, okay, I'm going to pause you there. I know you're probably still writing, but I want to pause and stop writing now. Pencil down. All right. Now, when you look at the answers to those questions, what drives you nuts? What's the utopia you crave? Who do you really want to impact? When you look at those, you're going to see patterns or themes or repeated phrases that are coming up. Find the through lines, the patterns or the themes that you keep noticing coming up. What are they telling you about the people, projects, and circumstances that you personally want to impact? Because your answers to those questions, there's clues all over the place. All right. You just want to look for the patterns and the themes, the concepts that keep coming up over and over again. The first thing to do is not necessarily write out this perfect career purpose that you're going to publish on LinkedIn. The most important thing is just to get the themes in your mind, even if they're not perfectly written out. In fact, I would say don't wordsmith it in the beginning because you'll just dilute it. I've seen it so many times. As soon as you try to wordsmith it and make it sound all good for LinkedIn, it's gonna just get diluted into blah, blah, blah. So the most important thing is for you to get connected to what are the patterns and themes, who are the people you want to impact, what are the areas you really care about, what's your stand, okay? So those themes are going to be telling you about your possibility, your self-expression, and your stand. All right, does that make sense? Can I get a yes to make sense? Or if it doesn't make sense, I'll work with you in the time we have left at the end of this call, okay? Okay, great. And seeing some yeses. Awesome. So here's how you test your current career purpose. And I say current very intentionally because your career purpose, it can change and it probably will change. Don't get too attached to it, okay? But you want to test it for accuracy. So number 1, does it make the difference that you want to make? So in other words, does it consider your through lines? Because some people, I've seen it happen in the work. They'll answer the questions, they'll find the through lines, and then they'll write a career purpose that's over here. And I'm like, what? But your through lines were X, Y, and Z, and now you wrote something that's over there somewhere. And that happens very quickly because as soon as people start to wordsmith, all of a sudden it just becomes this thing that sounds good, but isn't it all related to the fire that keeps you going, your reason for existence. So does it make the difference you want to make? In other words, is it the same as your through lines? Number 2, are you enrolled in your career purpose? Would you stand for it, right? Would you say, yeah, that is on fire. I'm there. I'm in it, right? In other words, does it touch, move, and inspire you? So that's the test to see if what your elements are for your career purpose are actually the right one, the one that's going to go in the funnel, right? At the very top. Because in every job, opportunity, career, whatever, grant proposal, whatever comes in, it's got to get through that first hoop, or else what's the point? Okay. All right. So let me tell you another story about another client. Alice is this incredible faculty member. And when she came into this work years ago, she said, listen, I want to focus my time. I want to recruit others who are compatible. I need to discover and articulate in writing who I'm becoming. And she came up with her career purpose during the work. Now, let's read this one out and let's see if this touch, moves, and inspires you. Let's see if you can tell who she is designed to impact, right? You're going to see the through lines here. So this is her career purpose. My career purpose is to help people, including the engineering education profession, develop a vision of engineering education as more inclusive, engaged, and socially just. So you can hear her stand. You can hear the possibility. This may not happen in her lifetime, right? It's a possibility. And you can also see the people that she's designed to impact. So when you really work that system through, and you could come up with other questions, you can work this process, but that's the kind of the level of clarity that really works for a career purpose as that first level. Now, when Alice got clear on these things, got clear on who she is at her core and her purpose, she got out, she calls it, she got out of her existential crisis. She crystallized her overall mission as an academic. This is what she reported as having as her results. She made way more accurate decisions of what to say yes and no to. She communicated her values and goals in a clearly written outcome. And what she said is she now has a clarity she needs to focus her limited time on things that advance her career, that are more personally rewarding, professionally rewarding, and give her energy back. Because, as I was saying before, if you don't have alignment or clarity on what your own career purpose is, it is very exhausting to go to work because you're disconnected from why you're there. So no matter what career you're looking for, that's what I'm saying. It's not a career search. It's an alignment search. Okay? So does everybody get that? Tell me in the chat if that's landing for you, right? That first level, does it forward my career purpose? Does it forward my career purpose? That's what we're looking for in that first level. It landed. Okay, beautiful. Awesome. Somewhat. Okay, good. Now the somewhat is good because we'll be working on this. There's some time at the end. So if you have questions, you're not sure, yeah, buts, what ifs, you can put your question in the chat at the end of the call. There'll be time for that. And I'd love to give you a hand with it. Okay, so let's go to the next step. Does it align with my unique genius? Okay, does it align with my unique genius? Now you might say, oh, I don't even know what my unique genius is. How do I know if it aligns with it? Well, that's shift number 3. First thing to recognize is that everyone, okay, if you're breathing, you have unique genius. That's the first shift you need to make. And I know that most people say, well, who am I to be a genius? And I'm not, my GPA is not high enough, or I don't want to brag, or I'm not sure if I'm smart or capable enough. If you have these thoughts, I promise you, you are walking right past what makes you unique and what your unique genius is, what your unique contribution is. So if you have any of these thoughts, I want you to just put them to the side. I invite you to tell them to just take a break for now. All right, you can get those thoughts back later, but at least for this webinar, put those thoughts to the side, because the truth is that everyone is a unique genius. So everyone has genius, because the reality is that, the dictionary says that genius is the exceptional intellectual or creative power or other natural ability. Okay, so genius is your natural ability to create. So in this context, when we're talking about the clarity that you're craving, that you need to design a career in a way that aligns with who you are and forwards your purpose, we're talking about unique genius, not as a measure of intelligence or how many degrees you have. It's who you are at your core. So everyone has unique genius because it's who you are at your core. And if you don't know what that means, don't worry, because we're going to walk through that. We'll walk through that next. So again, the truth is everyone has unique genius. It drives how you do things. It drives why you do things. It sets you apart from the pack. It benefits the exact people and projects you're designed to impact. It's who you are at your core. Okay. So you've really got to rethink what unique genius is, because if you get this wrong, you'll stay attached to the thought that unique genius has to do with, intellect and brilliance and impressive something, and you'll be walking right past it. And the impact of that is you'll be one person at home and one person at work. You'll leave part of yourself at home and you'll suppress it at work, because you'll think, well, that's, I just have to have a good GPA, be smart, but you won't be bringing who you are at your core, because you won't understand how it manifests as a benefit. So we're going to talk about that. So let's get into that shift. Okay. Shift number 4 is your skills, your GPA, your experience, your career, believe it or not, is not your unique genius. And I know that's where everybody looks. Here's what sets me apart: my GPA, my portfolio. It's really hard to accept that, because so many of us, we have our identities around those things. Even me, like, I am so attached to my work. I feel like it's who I am at my core. I mean, I just live, breathe it every day. And I know even as students, right, you're encouraged to work on all these things, increase your GPA, increase your experience, try lots of different things. So there's nothing wrong with that. Okay. There's nothing wrong with increasing your GPA and your experience as in leadership positions. But you can test this for yourself, because after you increase your GPA, does that make you more clear on what your passions are, or what would make you happy, or where you belong in the world? Probably not, right? So you got to do that, but it's not going to give you the answer to what your unique genius is and what you bring to the table that no one else can. Because the reality is, most people look for something that looks brilliant, impressive, amazing, right? But that's all good stuff, but that's not what your unique genius is, at least not in this context and the way that this works. So what I mean by that is the way that everyone's been doing it is what I call the old way. Like, what classes do I like? Maybe that's my unique genius. Or what subjects am I good at? Or I'll just try everything and see what I'm good at. Or I'll talk to my mentors or my family or my friends, and maybe they'll tell me what my unique genius is. Or maybe you're interviewing people that are in your potential career, and you're asking them, what skills do I need, or things like that. Or maybe you're taking personality quizzes and values assessments, like, those personality, what box do I belong in, or what are my values? That there's nothing wrong with that, but it just puts you in another category. It doesn't actually tell you what your unique genius is. Okay. Because the truth is that skills, talent, strengths, yes, they matter, but they will never, ever reveal the complete picture of your unique genius, because the clues to your unique genius are hiding all over your life. They're in the patterns of who you are at your core. They're right under your nose, but you can't see them because they just look like your personal life and things that have nothing to do with your work. So shift number 5 is that your unique genius is in the patterns of who you already are at your core. So get that paper out, get those documents open. We're about to do some heavy work here. Okay, so your unique genius is the thing that sets you apart, manifests as a benefit to your career and your work, and makes the impact you want to make. It's literally the patterns of who you are at your core. And this is a huge, most fundamental shift you need to get, is that it's who you already are. It's already there. Okay. Now, you might be thinking, well, how the heck do I what is that, right? How do I discover that? Have you noticed no one really tells you how to figure this out? So the people who are crystal clear on who they are at their core, they realize 3 things. Okay. Number 1, they know that who they are at their core shows up all over their life. It shows up in what they do for fun, what decisions they've made in their life, what drives them crazy, what their quirks are. It's all over the place. Number 2, they know that their unique genius looks random. It doesn't look like it has anything to do with your work at first, okay? Or what you're going to do with your life until that pattern's understood. And number 3, they know it manifests as a benefit to their career, okay? So how do you find the patterns of who you are at your core? So you can use it as a filter, use it to stand out, articulate to others what makes you unique. Here's the key. Step 1, there's 2 steps, okay? Step 1, you got to get all the puzzle pieces out on the table. Now, what do I mean by that? There are clues all over your life, like puzzle pieces. So, when you buy a puzzle, what's the first thing you do when you buy a puzzle? You turn the box over onto the table, right? You just poof, all the puzzle pieces go all on the table. Not some puzzle pieces, not half the box, the whole box. You just dump it, all the puzzle pieces out on the table. Then you sift around and you find the patterns. You're looking for, where's the cat or the door or the flower or whatever it is, the blue, find all the blues. You're looking for the patterns. And that's kind of what this is like. What this work is like, of finding your unique genius. You've got to get all the puzzle pieces out on the table first. It's absolutely step number 1. So what I mean by puzzle pieces is in the Pillars of Genius method, it's called the Go Deep questions. So this is the method I use with faculty. There's 14 questions that pull all those puzzle pieces out. I'm going to give you 3 of them. We're going to play with them. To be fair, when I work with faculty, it takes us about 4 to 5 weeks to nail down with absolute accuracy what their unique genius is. So, in a group for an hour, we're not going to achieve the clarity of your unique genius unless a miracle comes down from the heavens. But no, it's much deeper than that. But even using 3 out of 14 of these questions, you're going to get a sense of this, and you're going to get some momentum in here. And I'm going to walk you through the questions one at a time. We'll do this together, okay? All right, so for each question, I'm only going to give you like 10 seconds to write the answer down, because it's going to be right on the top of your head. So don't overthink it. Don't analyze it. Just trust me, okay? Trust me, and you'll get something out of this. So the first question is, and you can ignore the why part, okay? What do you love to do for fun? Okay? I'm going to give you like 10 seconds for that. Even if you're not doing it now, even if you think, I haven't had fun for 2 years, or 10 years, I don't know. Pick one thing that you do for fun, even if you're not doing it right now. Like maybe you love hosting dinner parties, or maybe you love snowboarding with your friends, or maybe you like making model airplanes, okay? Even though you don't tell anyone about it because it sounds weird and you don't know anyone who does it. All right, so what do you do for fun? What do you love to do for fun? Okay, got it? All right, next step. Why do you like that thing? So, for example, maybe you said, "Oh, I love having dinner parties." And now, but why do you like having dinner parties? Maybe you say, "Okay, well, I really love having dinner parties because I like precision and I like the place card set out and I like everything to be planned in advance and everything to be, perfect and the meals come out perfectly and everything's planned and, precise and blah blah blah." Maybe that's why you like having dinner parties. Or maybe you say, maybe you're a different person and you say, "Oh, I like having dinner parties because I like debate and I love, inviting people from all different backgrounds that have never met each other and they share their perspectives. And like, that's why I love having dinner parties." And so can you see those? It's not about what you love to do for fun. It's about why you're doing it. Those people are two different people, right? Even though on the surface, what they love to do for fun is the same. Okay, so what do you love to do for fun? One thing, and why? Okay, next. What is a quirk or a so-called flaw? So a quirk, if you don't know what a quirk is, it's a peculiar behavioral habit, right? So what is one quirk or so-called flaw? Don't answer the why yet. Now I say so-called flaws because you don't have any flaws, okay? Your flaws are 99% of the time they're pointing straight to your unique genius. So a quirk or a flaw, it's like somebody would say, "Oh yeah, that's just how they operate. You gotta love them." Kind of like that. Maybe you need to fully clean the kitchen before you go to bed every night, or like one of my quirks, for example, is I am like incessantly curious about people. I am so annoying to take a taxi ride with because I want to ask the taxi driver a million questions and where are you from and what do you do for fun and how come you're tan, where have you been, and just tons of questions. And it drives people crazy sometimes. Like, could you stop asking so many questions? But I can't help myself, right? That's a quirk. And I could totally see that as a flaw. I mean, I certainly wouldn't see it as genius. No one's paying me to talk to taxi drivers, but I'm going to show you how this works out to be your genius. So, what's one quirk or flaw that you have? Now, why? Why do you like that thing? Why do you do it? For example, why do I walk up to complete strangers and ask tons of questions about them? What joy does that bring me? What do I get out of that? If I think about it, it's because I love people's stories. It's a pattern all over my life. It's everywhere. If you hang out with me for 10 minutes, I'm going to know your story, right? It's not something I was trained in or my education. It's not my certification. It's who I am at my core. All right. Okay, you with me? Type type yes in the chat if you're with me. With you. Okay, good. Perfect. Great. Great. Okay, next. What strengthens you or fuels you when you do it or experience it? So, one thing, okay, just one. I know you have more than one, but just one. For me, this is kind of weird, but I love organizing my parents' pantry. Like it fuels me. And I know some of you are like, that sounds terrible. But for me, I honestly have more energy when I finish organizing their pantry than when I started. It literally energizes me. So when I visit them, which I am doing right now, it's really important for me to get some time in to organize the pantry. Okay, so what fuels you? It doesn't need to be impressive or genius or have any relationship to your work. All right, because when you find your unique genius, it's all over your life. It's not just in your work. So, what strengthens or fuels you when you do it or experience it? Name one thing. Okay, now why? What is it about that thing that you love or believe in or value? Like, why does that thing energize you? So for me, as an example, I love having everything in its place. I cannot stand it when I can't see like how things make sense, how things come together, how do I decide whether I'm going to buy X or Y if I can't see it all in the same place in the pantry? I lose my mind. But it's not just that I lose my mind. I get energized by seeing things that are in patterns that make sense. Like when things are put in the right place and the patterns make sense to me, that fuels me. Okay, so why does that thing fuel you? Okay, now let's move on. So now we have a few puzzle pieces that are out on the table. Okay, you've dumped some of your puzzle pieces on the table. And although it's just a handful, it's a fraction of what you need to do this work fully, but it'll give you a ton of momentum and some clarity. Let's see what kind of patterns might already be emerging for you about your unique genius, who you are at your core. Hang on while I take a sip of water. Okay, so now we need to notice the patterns in your puzzle pieces. So go back to your answers. Now, don't bother looking at your answers to the actual question, because it doesn't matter if you like to host dinner parties, or it doesn't matter if you like to snowboard, or it doesn't matter if your quirk is to organize your pantry. That's not your unique genius, right? You're not going to go, well, maybe you will go and find a job organizing pantries. Maybe you will, but probably not. Look at your answers to the why. So not your first answer, but your whys. Because in the technology, in this process, when I'm actually working with someone to find their unique genius, we do even more levels under the whys, okay? But this initial why is going to give you some clues. So look at your whys and then notice, do you see that why showing up in other areas of your life? So just pick out any of your whys, because they might all be different, right? Pick out any of your whys and just the one that kind of pops out at you. Do you see that showing up in other areas of your life? So, for example, let's say you like to host dinner parties, and your why is because you like to have everything laid out perfectly. You love the precision of it. You love the details of it all. You love planning it incessantly to make it all come together. Can you see that in other areas of your life? Do you notice that you love precision, laying things out perfectly, putting a ton of energy into planning all the details so no detail is missed? Where else do you see that? Do you see that in your studies? You know, maybe how you prepare for exams. Do you see that with your friends? Are you the one who always plans the trips because you're going to plan so perfectly that nothing is ever missed, right? Is it a pattern? Can you see it in other areas of your life? Now, if you can see it in other areas of your life, you might actually also see it in your past. You might say, oh yeah, when I was 5 years old, I remember I planned that, lemonade stand for 2 weeks before we put the lemonade stand up. I had everything planned out. Or, well, when I was 15, my friends made me plan the, I don't know, school trip to Europe or something, whatever that thing is. So you may see it all over your life, sort of 360, personal, work, hobbies, friends, and you might see it in the past as well. Because when you see a pattern that's who you are at your core, and it's never going to move because you're thinking, well, it's who I've always been and it's all over my life, that is going to be one of your pillars of genius. Okay, it's a pattern that's who you are at your core. It is never going to move. You could change your job 10 times. That thing won't move. I could see you in 30 years. You'll still be that same person. You'll still be planning incessantly. Maybe your funeral or something, whatever it might be. Whether it drives people crazy, whether you've thought of it as a flaw or something you should tone down, it's who you are at your core. And I guarantee you, it's needed out there in the world. It manifests as a benefit. Now everyone has 3 or 4. Oh, sorry, that's a typo. 3 to 5. That's a typo. Please rewrite that if you're taking notes. Everyone has 3 to 5 core patterns. Okay. They're not chosen from a predetermined list. There's not a category of here's 25 patterns. Which ones are yours? It's not like that. You find the pattern and you actually say, oh, what the heck is this thing? What is this? Is it about obsessively precision planning? Is it about I love the details or no detail is too small? Like, what is this thing that's all over my life? That's what we're doing in this work is naming it. You look at this pattern and it's, finding all the clues, looking all over your life and saying, what do I name this thing? So there's no category, there's no box to fit in, there's no grid. You're creating this from nothing. That's how that's how unique these patterns are. And the truth is that looking for a pattern that looks like genius, you will miss your actual unique genius. If you're looking for something brilliant or impressive, it's going to hold you back from seeing the actual genius that is right under your nose. Now, each pattern is your unique genius if it's 3 things. Okay, number 1, it's who you are at your core. Like, I could try to push you off that thing for a month and I couldn't push you off of it, right? I could try to convince you out of it. It wouldn't happen because, like it or not, it's who you are. Whether you've seen it as a flaw or not, it's who you are. You could stand up in court and defend it because you've got evidence all over your life. It sets you apart from the pack. So it's not an assumed characteristic of everyone in your area of study or your area of work. It's who you uniquely are. Okay, so it will not be an assumed characteristic. Even though you might think, well, doesn't everybody do that? Doesn't everybody plan incessantly for everything? Like, no. Usually that's how a lot of people think. And number 3, it manifests as a benefit to the projects, the people that you are uniquely designed to impact. Now, this is the trickiest one because often who you are seems so natural to you, so easy, so unrelated to your work in the beginning that you have to actually put a little bit of sweat in and thinking in to see how it manifests as a benefit. And we can play with this in the Q&A, but everyone around you can see it, but you may not be able to see it yourself. So, for example, manifesting as a benefit, like for me, talking to taxi drivers and asking them questions. That curiosity about people is all over my life. There's puzzle pieces everywhere. I mean, pretty much the only books I read are biographies because that's the only thing I'm really that fascinated with. Movies, I only want to know ones that are based on real life or else I'm not that interested. Sitting, I am the only one. I have 2 sisters, but I'm the only one who sits at the kitchen table and listens to the stories of, my grandparents and my ancestors, my other 2 sisters, like, oh, whatever. I am, and so it's all over my life. I'm overly interested in people's stories. Now, my work, well, before I did this many years ago, 25, 30, however long ago, my career began in market research. And I didn't even know it at the time, but I knew I wanted to be in that work, but I didn't know what was driving me. Now I know, because now I know what my unique genius is. I'm overly interested in people's stories. I never tire of asking questions and learning more about people. And, market research was a big part of that. And now, of course, half my day is learning about people's stories because I am working with people to find their unique genius. I need to be curious about everything and I will not stop until I have all the puzzle pieces, believe me. So look at your pattern, right? Don't look at your what, look at your why. Because if I looked at my what, I would say, oh, maybe I should be a taxi driver interviewer or something like this, right? Something ridiculous. But it's not that. It's underneath that. It's in the pattern. Okay. So let's look at another example. Shawnita, she's another faculty member. Now, when she came into this work, she wanted to be more of herself at work. That's what she said. But she couldn't articulate what that was. She didn't know what it meant. But she did know one thing. She didn't want to waste her time doing things that weren't her purpose. Now, let's look at the patterns. These are her, what we call pillars of genius. But essentially what these are the patterns of who she is at her core. Those things that are never going to move no matter what. I could see her in 20 years or 30 years. She's still that person. So pattern 1 is defy the odds. And what's interesting about this one is that she's a professor of epidemiology, okay, which is all about odds. But it's who she is at her core. Defy the odds. And there are clues everywhere, okay, all over her life, from her childhood, from her teenage years. She says, forget the odds, right? Defy the odds. Her next pattern is go back and get the underdog. And this is throughout her whole life. It's in her work, it's in her play, it's in the way she thinks, how she sees the world. And it's very interesting because part of the clues for this was that she would invite underdogs, so-called underdogs, for lunch and talk to them and see what they're up to and try to help them. And when she was on the tenure track, her mentor said that, you probably should be spending your time doing other things. That's not going to help you get tenure. So she kind of backed off on it. But she realized that she really wanted to be doing that, even though her mentor said it wasn't a good use of her time. So she listened to her mentor. She struggled with it, but she followed the external pressures because she didn't understand how that was her unique genius. But when she figured it out, it's actually what she based the next phase of her career on, believe it or not. So when you have your patterns sorted out, never tell me the odds. So when you have your patterns identified, what do you do with them? Well, you can make decisions, right? Your filter, the filter we talked about. So I want you to look at this grid. This is a very simplified version of what we do in the Pillars of Genius work with faculty. But if you look at it, you can look at the top left-hand corner. It says opportunity, job, or okay, so you would put in there, say somebody comes to you and say, oh, you should do this. You should take this project. You should, apply for this grant. You should take this career. You'd be good at this career. Put that in the top left-hand side. And then write your patterns down the left-hand side. So for Shanita, for example, right, defy the odds, go back and get the underdog, blah, blah, blah. The first column is, will I be able to live this pillar of genius? In other words, will I be able to be myself in this position, this opportunity, this request, whatever it is? Will people be pulling for me? Or will they be like, ugh, this person plans too much, they're too, la, la, la. You got to know that you can actually be who you are in that job. Number 2, will this pattern help me succeed in this situation? So is it going to help me do a better job in this career, in this job, in this task? And number 3, will this pillar of genius be a contribution to the project, to the people, to the circumstance, to the task, whatever it is? Will this bring something to the table? Will this be a contribution? So that's the process to go through in terms of your filter. Once you know what your patterns are, who you are at your core, that's never going to move, you can run every project, every suggestion that anyone gives you about, you should do this career, or you should take this job, or you should do this project. You can run it through this and say, is this going to allow me to be exactly who I am at my core and manifest as a benefit? So if you look at Shanita, for example, once she got that nailed, she knows her patterns, she created a filter for who matches her unique genius, who to work with. She increased what she calls her unconventional actions. So she went back and started getting the underdog and supporting them. She speaks her mind, even when her voice shakes. That's what she said. And she went back out on the job market and accepted an offer from a Big 10 university and got everything she asked for in negotiations, because she was, as she said, after finding my pillars of genius, I'm unapologetic about who I am, what my purpose is, how I show up in the world. So you see how the clarity, when you're really grounded on who you are at your core, and there's clues all over your life, you will be unapologetic. You will say, yes, thank you very much for telling me that that's the career I should go, or get the safe job, or take that job because it's a good stepping stone. Thank you very much. Let me decide whether I'm going to do it or not. You start becoming very unapologetic about it. And one of the things that came out of this is her research. Now, she is unbelievably powerful. I don't know if any of you know Shanita, but oh my goodness. So she developed a study, a secure study. And I just grabbed this from her website, or from the study's website. And it says, the purpose of the study is to examine how unjust housing evictions rooted in structural racism contribute to poor health and reproductive outcomes among Black women in Metro Detroit. Now, if that isn't a representation of her pillars of genius, I don't know what is, right? So she came in saying, let's see, look at this. I want to be more of myself, but I don't know what it is. And I don't want to waste my time anymore doing things that aren't on my purpose. And now, she's got it. So that's the importance of it, right? That's the importance of looking at your life and saying, who am I at my core? What's my career purpose? What are my pillars of genius? And making your decisions from there instead of letting everyone else tell you what you should be doing. So again, does it align with my unique genius? When I say it, I mean career, job, path, next step, whatever this is. Okay. Now, the last one I'm not going to spend time on because I'm going to rely on you for that. Does it fit my logistics? This is obvious, right? What's the salary I want? What are the hours I want? What work balance do I want? What city do I want to live in? I'm going to leave that with you. The last shift number 6 that I want to introduce you to is that this whole concept is more than choosing a career. This is about designing your career. Everything is changing so quickly. No matter what career you choose, it's going to change anyway. So you either have it change on top of you or you design it and change it. So this is more than choosing a career path. It's about deciding what you should do with your degree. This is a framework that supports you to design your career at every phase, every opportunity, because some people think, oh, the choice of my career coming out of university is the biggest choice I'm going to make. Well, I'm not so sure about that. There are big choices all the time in your career. You'll be often be at a crossroads. So you need this filter no matter where you are in your career, because it's not just about what job you say yes to or what career you say. It's also designing your career. Who am I as a leader? What tasks should I take on this month? What are my priorities now? All right. So you always need to have this filter in mind, because you are choosing, it's more about just choosing a career. It's about designing your career. So what I mean by that is there's really 3 things that when you know your pillars, your unique genius, your patterns of who you are at your core, when you know your career purpose, you can do 3 really fundamental things. Number 1 is you can decide, should I say yes or no to this thing? Number 2, you can enroll others. Why you're doing what you're doing. Who is it impacting? Why does it matter? And number 3, you can stand out because you can articulate specific benefits about who you naturally are at your core. If you're an incessant planner and no detail gets missed, and you know that for sure because it's all over your life, you will have no problem saying in an interview, a job interview, this is what I bring to the table and it will never move. And here are 10 examples of it. And here's how I see how it manifests as a benefit in this job or this career, right? That is very easy to articulate once you're clear. But you can also create. So it's not just about deciding when things come at you. Maybe you want to create a job that doesn't even exist. And you're going to say, okay, well, I'm going to create it from my career purpose and from who I am. So I'm going to create this job, this role, this whatever, this lab in a way where, if that's your pillar of planning incessantly and no detail is missed, that's the way I'm going to plan it. That's how I'm going to lead. When I build a team, they're going to know that that's who I am and that's how it's going to go, that I value that. So you can create your own leadership style. There's lots of books you can read, how to be a leader, Here's 4 leadership styles. Which one are you? And you look and you think, oh, none of them, or some of them, or I don't know. No, if you're looking at who you are at your core, and the faculty I work with are doing this all the time. They're taking their pillars of genius and saying, all right, now how does it translate into who I am as a leader? How do I lead? How do I deal with conflict? How do I prioritize? So, and you design the way to get things done. So it's about more than just making yes, no decisions. It's about creating a career that aligns with who you are at your core. So let's wrap this up. So today I promised you that I would guide you in building a framework to help you create a meaningful and successful career that is as unique as you are, so that you have clarity and confidence in making decisions about the next phase of your life, whenever that next phase is. That next phase might be, you might be 21, you might be 45, I don't know, but we all constantly have next phases. All right. So now the thing is, most people try to figure this out for themselves, because you think, well, I should be an expert on myself, right? Shouldn't I know about me? But the reality is it's very, very difficult, almost impossible to see the picture when you're inside the frame. So what I would suggest you do is don't get stuck because you can't see it. Okay, it's there, you just maybe can't see it. So talk to me, ask others, right? It is there. Don't get stuck because you can't see it. So just in closing, there's 6 shifts to make. Let's go back through these 6 shifts. Number 1, shift your context from career search to alignment search. Number 2, your work is not your purpose. Your work should forward your purpose, okay? But it's not your purpose itself. Number 3, remember, everyone has unique genius. That means you, because it's who you are at your core. Your GPA, your experience, all these measurable things, that's not your unique genius. Your unique genius is who you are at your core, I guarantee you. And remember, this is more than just choosing a career. This is a filter that you could use in every day of your life to design your career as you go. Even if you've already chosen your career, you know exactly what it is. If there's anything out of alignment, this is what this filter does. That thing that feels like it doesn't work, drives you crazy, you're like, I don't even know if I want to do this work anymore. Look at your filter and start redesigning things to align with who you are.